So that's the end of week 3. I hope you learned some interesting things. I hope you've got a good record of what you learned and you've taught it to somebody else and you understand kind of what's going on when you're choosing variables. This is a very common thing that happens in a lot of models, and we see it done very poorly a lot of times. So the main lesson we want you to know from this week is that you should start a model with the variables that you think should be in the final model. But you should also have the idea of, well, this one I think should be in the final model, but I should test that. And this is where model selection comes in. It's not just throw all of the variables in and see what gets removed by the computer. You put the variables that you think should go in into that model, have an understanding of why those particular variables are in it, and have an idea of, well, I have height in the model, maybe weight would be a better predictor, maybe I can switch those out and see which one works better. Never use automated variable selection. Always create your models intentionally. Always have a reason behind the decisions that you make. A statistician named Andrew Gellman has a concept called the Garden of Forking Paths, and this is very much related to the type 1 error problem, where if we just test a bunch of hypotheses, eventually we'll find a p-value that's significant, even if nothing is actually happening. Type 1 error is just this idea that repeated 5% error means you'll sometimes get that error, and a 5% error is what we choose when we do a 5% significance level. The Garden of Forking Paths is an extension of this, where it's not just the individual tests that we do, but all the decisions we made along the way. It's like you're walking down a garden, and every time you find a forking path, that's something that you need to know about. You can't just go one way and say you were always going in that direction. You have to be honest about all of the decisions you made going into a model. So next week we're going to explore this a little bit more and do quite a complicated regression. I did the regression myself, and I'm actually certain that another person would be able to do a different regression and get pretty good results as well. There's no clear right answer in the regression we're going to do next week, but it's a nice, very interesting application.